The year, not important. The day, also not important, because if I were a speedrunner, every attempt feels more or less the same. Day in, day out, the days may as well be blended together. At the very beginning of the game, just like yesterday and the day before that, waiting for something to happen. But then, something that no one has ever seen before happens. Our runner is Lashenko. Expecting a usual opening cutscene, he is greeted with this low hum that only gets louder and louder.
My head out of the gutter for 1 freaking second and fate shovel shit in my face.
What the hell?
Unbeknownst to him, he had just ruined the fun for everyone. Quickly it's figured out that the culprit would be the custom skin he was donning. Custom skins have always been a way for runners to express themselves, something that changed the monotony of speedrunning. It'd almost be silly to ask whether or not custom skins were allowed for runs, but now, unimaginably, its allowance was being brought into question. The story goes, if a custom skin file name exceeded north of 20 characters, it would begin to modify the value of things, one being the flight path that planes flying around the map would take. This had already been known, but for the knowers, it didn't seem like something that would be an issue. Let me ask you something. When does a speedrun start? No, really, when should we start the timer? Most of you would say as soon as the first input is entered, and that was the case for Vice City long ago. But yet, another feature that was meant to allow the player to customize another aspect of the game was exploited, right before you can even gain control of the character. Needless to say, custom skins were outlawed, but there is an exception. You can use the skins that were given by the game, which doesn't seem like much, but on a different version of the game, there would be more skins, featuring 2 of them being identical. However, there was one skin that stood above the rest, metaphorically speaking, a skin that told a story of one wild speedrunner. This is his story. One of the greatest runs in Vice City speedrunning history has just happened, and the runner in question likely wasn't even old enough to walk when the community first started. The modern GTA community would be founded in 2011 and has grown to be one of the largest speedrunning communities not named Minecraft or any Nintendo licensed game. And even with that, nothing like this has ever been seen before. Hailing from Russia, Redopter would start running Vice City around summer of 2020, making him a late migrant of the Russian invasion of 2018, where the GTA community would go from being mainly Western Europeans to expanding eastward. At the time, Redopter would stick to miscellaneous categories. These are the categories you'd find buried under the main categories of a leaderboard, though he'd eventually find himself running a main category on the 31st of October 2020, and the any % no SSU category. This is the main beat the game category of the leaderboard. He would post a respectable 55-minute, 16-second time, earning him a top 75 spot out of 307 runners. His focus would largely still be all over the place, but even in his young speedrunning career, he would already have the reputation of being a bit of a dark horse. Fast forward to 2023, and Redopter would take part of 2 Vice City tournaments that were held by yours truly. The first tournament would be unfavorable, getting eliminated in just the second round, but it would be the second tournament where he'd find unusual success. You see, the Vice City speedrun is typically played on the Japanese version of the game. This is because the Japanese version has what is called the Haitian-friendly game script. The Haitian Center's Council and Haitian Americans for Human Rights were not fond of the many game's instructions to kill Haitians, as well as their depictions as, quote, thugs, thieves, and drug dealers. Despite Rockstar Games insisting that these statements were made out of context, they would later concede and have future copies of the game remove any references to Haitians. These copies would include the official Japanese release of the game on the 20th of May 2004, a year and a half after the initial PS2 release. As a result of the censorship, a new mission script would be created and allowed for a newer and faster way to complete the endgame. In Vice City, you need to complete 7 assets in order to unlock the final 2 missions of the game. It was discovered that you can complete the final mission of an asset multiple times, and it would add to the counter of assets completed. In older routes, it would be the duplication of the final mission of Printworks 5 times. But with the Japanese version, it will be the insta-passing of the ice cream van mission 5 times. We'll get back to what that means, but it had now been 8 years since the international version was last widely used for speedrunning, when Redopter was just 5 years old. And now, he finds himself invited to play in a $1,000 tournament, playing a version of the game he has never played before. And in spite of this, he finishes top 3, earning him a hefty sum of 125 USD, nearly 10,000 Russian rubles. With that kind of money, you can buy yourself, well, according to some Russian guy on Reddit, a year of unlimited mobile internet. So yes, I would like to take credit for funding this young man's streaming career. Around this time, Redopter would mainly float in top 5 and top 10 in the no SSU and all missions categories respectively. This would put him with some elite company. He would switch his focus to games like GTA 3 and Liberty City Stories, where he'd find similar success, being top 6 in GTA 3 any percent and top 3 in Liberty City Stories by June 2024. He would later find himself back on the Vice City grind, but this time it would not be a miscellaneous category. Far from it actually. It would be the mother of all speedrunning categories, 100%, a category which Redopter has never touched before. And, as we should expect from him by now, his first run would be a 4:43.56, good enough for a top 10 spot. When you have a history of posting really good times on the leaderboards, you are bound to have a little bit of a following, even if it's just 1 or 2 people trolling the leaderboards to catch the next big thing before it happens. These people essentially become your biggest fan. But Redopter was his own biggest fan. Let's start in the middle. In April 2019, the 100% category would see one of its biggest jumps in fastest completion time, with Mrushko's 4:42.35, completely smashing the record of Rock's 4:53.43 and being the first to break the barrier of 4:50. The person to break the next barrier of 4:40 would again be Mrushko a year later, finishing the month of April with a 4:31.49. The route for Hundo wouldn't change much in its time span. 100% was very much in the hyper-optimization stage of its life, and it became a competition of who can lose the least amount of time. In 100%, every domino must fall. On first watch is chaotic, the detours, the questionable decisions, nothing appears to make a lick of sense. However, you quickly understand that everything is a setup for something in the future. Chain links rather than picket fences. Dying or getting busted at the wrong time meant you had to restart a mission, but that was often the best case scenario. What it often meant was that a 5-minute setup for completing multiple missions at once had to be done all over. Despite the rapid improvements, these runs would still be few far in between. When it gets the next person to break the barrier 4:30, if your answer was Mrushko, you'd be very much incorrect. That honor would go to the 4-time world's strongest man, Iguana, who would hold the record for the rest of the calendar year until Mrushko would respond with a 4-hour and 20-minute time of his own. Meanwhile, another competitor, controversial runner Anti, who had been fresh from his 3-year ban from leaderboards, started to relearn the 100% category and posed a great threat to Mrushko's reign. Despite his checkered past, Anti would be the namesake of the anti-gap, where the gap between first place and second is so great, the person in second effectively becomes a second record holder. The record holder for mortals, if you will. Quickly though, Anti would rise up the ranks and finish with a 4:23.43 by May, and then nothing. Historically, you expect there to be something happening a year later, but nothing. 2 years, nothing. 3 years, nothing. Things were getting so desperate that Mrushko created an emote called Please Someone Find a Strat. It was getting dry out here. 7 months prior to Anti's 4:23, Mrushko would release a compilation of strat in-route ideas for 100%, though through failure of finishing a good run with the ideas he proposed, he came to the conclusion that it wasn't faster anyway. On the 31st of July 2024, Mrushko released a video entitled I Will Get Sub 420. Now, that title holds a lot of ambiguity, so I'll try to break it down further. In his video, he describes his plans on finally going all in on closing a chapter on something that's been looming over the heads of Vice City runners for close to 3 years. Hundo Summer. But once again, 100% would get the best of him, and yet just 8 days after the upload. Mrushko, one of the most celebrated Vice City runners ever, a runner who's had a huge impact on how the game is played, had once again been defeated by 100%. He was 100% done. And we've gone right back where we started. But his work would not be in vain, as Redopter would take much of the route that Mrushko had already laid out and slightly modify it. But no one, apart from the hardcore Russians that watched him, knew what was cooking. He joined the annual 100% race, held every May, and finished with a 4:38.02, good enough for second place in the race and even beating out the previous record holders Mrushko and Iguana. Did I mention it's a new PB? Maybe he got lucky. Maybe the former record holders got unlucky. Or maybe it was just a sign for things to come. Focus. The job's not finished. We are still in the year of 2024 without a 100% run under 4 hours and 20 minutes. We have to bring back the dead. Just 10 days earlier, Iguana posted a video to the GTA Discord based on a clip that he had seen 4 years prior. It showcased something interesting. But first, rampages are minigames that are required for 100% completion. It requires you to kill a specified amount of gang members with a specific weapon in under 2 minutes. One of the limitations with this minigame are the spawns. There are a few groups of guys that spawn nearby, but after you clear them, you'll have to move somewhere else in order to have more to spawn. With this strat, you only need one spawn, or even one person in this case, in order to complete the rampage. This would eventually find its way to being used for the rocket rampage, and would be dubbed the Necromancy strat. And it's pretty fast. It is the 4th of November, 2024, and a kid has a run going. With less than an hour left, the projected final time is set to be around 4 hours and 14 minutes. With new improvements and with Necromancy, this run has the potential to blow this category wide open. But 3.5 hours into a run just isn't safe enough to call a run a sure thing.
Oh no.
Yeah, he needs that phone call.
Fuck, no.
You can pick up more ammo of a different gun in the same category just by simply walking over it. If you want to pick up that particular weapon, however, you press the action key, which happens to be the exact same key to answer phone calls. Him forgetting that the phone was ringing is puzzling, because just 10 seconds earlier, he waited for it to come in so the save icon would disappear. One can only guess that after missing the initial rocket shot, he switched to his rifle and realized that he needed to make the swap. And that's not even all of it. You see, the phone rings a total of 7 times with a 1.5 seconds of silence in between. A careful listener will hear that the phone ringing gets interrupted by the dialogue.
Stay away.
It's possible that had it not been for this, the phone ring would come in a split second before he decided to press tab.
Stay away.
He expects to be reassured of having enough rifle ammo, but instead he's told to report to the payphone around the block. In this moment, he cannot cancel the phone call, and so he is forced to sit with this blunder, taking in how the lack of focus for even a few seconds can possibly cost him a few minutes. Phone calls have a special use case for the setup he's about to do, and now he's without one. Luckily, he's able to demise a plan with using a rampage as a substitute, but that's 2 minutes gone. The best possible time drops to a 4:16, still making good pace for what can ultimately be a groundbreaking run. The very next mission.
What's the problem? Oh fucking no. Shit. No fucking way.
Redopter still has 3 more packages to collect, all in this gigantic airport, which I should mention is void of any vehicles apart from baggage handlers, and he's probably handled enough baggage within the past 20 minutes of this run. And yes, he is still running. He is here and has to make the trip all the way to the taxi firm here.
Stay away from that old Viper man. Don't you take that fruit he's holding in his hand. Just one bite and you'll be swinging with the band. If you hang around that old Viper man, if you should come across a Viper in the night, that's when you get the hit that makes you feel alright. You'll be high and trouble's out of sight, so don't you hang around that Viper in the night.
The time lost from this disaster seems minimal, with the splits reflecting a 4:17 best possible time. The next big thing standing in the way of achieving speedrunning immortality is Taxi Driver. On a typical playthrough, Taxi takes about 90 minutes to complete. That's 90 minutes of driving up and down the city in order to complete 100 fares. In the speedrun, it can be done in 10 minutes, with the first 5 minutes requiring you to do absolutely nothing. I mean seriously, as soon as he saves the game, the timer to do nothing starts. Well, he sets up for later on, but other than that, he has no choice but to stand around and wait. By starting the off-road mission Trial by Dirt over and over again, we can convert these instances to vigilante kills and taxi fares. But how do we do this? We manipulate something called the on-mission flag, and is represented as a binary, whether you're on a mission 1 or not, 0. By being on mission 0, you're telling the game, hey, I'm not currently on a mission, give me things to do, and missions will be available to the player. If they're on mission 1, then that means that the player is currently doing a mission, minigame, or doing something else like taking a phone call, and missions won't be available. Now, I would like to direct your attention to replays, a mostly PC exclusive feature that, as the name suggests, plays back the last few moments of gameplay. You can even save them if you want by pressing F2. The one thing you can do with replays is interact with certain pickups, like rampages, which is exactly what is needed here. But why are we sat here? Rampages are 2 minutes long, and since doing anything for 2 minutes is too long, especially for a speedrunner, we have to find a way to turn the state of being on the rampage on and off like the light switch. If we were to load a save with a playtime of, let's say, 100 hours, and save a replay, and then load a save with a playtime of less than 98 hours, accounting 2 minutes for the rampage, if then we are on a rampage and play the replay back, the rampage will fail because the game thinks that we are more in the future than we actually are. Are you still with me? It starts to think, wait a minute, 2 minutes have already passed, and the rampage hasn't been completed yet, so the rampage has failed. So, Redopter is waiting for the amount of time needed to dupe Trial by Dirt enough to complete 12 vigilante levels and 100 taxi fares with an additional 2 minutes added. A lot of people may see this idle time as newfound relaxation from the labor of remembering everything you need to do and making sure you do them without fail. A well-deserved pee break. But these 5 minutes are where runners feel the most internal turmoil. By doing these Trial by Dirt dupes, you have the added benefit of doing 2 of the longer side missions in the same amount of time it takes to shower. But the 5 minutes after the wait is where, for some runners, when the speedrun actually starts. Here's the sequence. After waiting, you create a replay, standing on the rampage, reload the save. You drive towards the off-road track, start the rampage, hop on the dirt bike where Trial by Dirt starts, play the replay which fails the rampage, and before the game can even register that you are no longer on a mission, which can be as little as a few frames, you start the rampage again. 1 dupe down, and only 111 more to go. First up, Vigilante. For Vigilante, you only have to perform 12 dupes, but this is counterbalanced by the fact that Vigilante has a chance to crash. Fortunately for Redopter, it doesn't. And now we move on to taxi fare dupes, and it's not too long until a break in concentration causes him to mess up.
Cool.
And just like that, 1 minute of progress has been erased. His theoretical 3 minutes of wiggle room is whittled to just 2. Make that 1.
Cool.
This is Redopter's final chance. If he stands to correct the wrongs of the past 45 minutes of the speedrun, he has to lock in. especially for taxi dupes, which are equally as brutal. You have to dupe 50 times in a row, come back, and then dupe another 50 times in a row. After completing the first 50 fares, Redopter drives past the save icon. That's right, if he messes up the dupes after this, he has to start all over. 0 vigilante kills, 0 taxi fares over. Let's see how this plays out. Redopter was in prime position to set a time that Mrushko likely didn't imagine he would ever get close to. But getting the first ever sub 420 hundo would have to do.